It is over 100 degrees in Disneyland this week. That is insane, and it's definitely super dangerous too. So make sure you follow these tips so that you make it through the day. First and most obvious, stay hydrated. Keep in mind that once you feel thirsty, you're already dehydrated. Make sure you're staying on top of your water intake and even drink some electrolyte drinks like Powerade. Remember, you can ask for water from any quick service location and also take advantage of the refill stations located throughout the park. Number two, take advantage of indoor shows like the Tiki Room in Disneyland and Mickey's PhilharMagic in California Adventure. Also in California Adventure, go over to the Animation Academy. That's where you're going to find Turtle Talk with Crush, which the kids always really love. It's a really fun time. Or you can also learn how to draw your favorite Disney characters, all while under the beautiful air conditioning. Make sure you're staying hydrated. It's that important. I'm going to remind you again. Number three, hop onto the rides that are a little bit longer and are also inside. Some of our favorites on a hot day like this are Rise of the Resistance. It's a small world, although, fair warning, a small world line can be brutal in the heat if the line is really long. So that one doesn't always work out. Pirates of the Caribbean is good. The Little Mermaid, also a great option. The queue is partially outside, but once you get to the indoor part, it's air conditioned. And the ride itself is almost 6 minutes long, which is longer than most dark rides at Disneyland. Smuggler's Run and Soarin' Around the World are also great options. And while you're in line for those rides, you guessed it, don't forget to stay hydrated. Another great way to beat the heat at Disneyland is to try to find limited edition merchandise. And by that, I mean go hide in the store, get out of the heat. All of the stores are air conditioned. So just go in a store, hang out there for a little while, browse around, see what looks interesting, feel your body temperature coming down, and you returning to your normal, not overheated self. And a pro tip for when you're walking around in those stores is to have your water bottle with you and taking sips all the time. Stay hydrated, folks. All right. I know you're getting tired of me telling you to stay hydrated, but it is so, so important. I cannot tell you how many people I have seen being treated by Disney Medical just because they didn't stay hydrated. So it's hard to do. No shame to those people, but just make sure you're sipping your water throughout the day. You're also going to want to try to find some shaded seating to take breaks in. Now, this can be easier said than done in Disneyland and California Adventure. I have notes for Disneyland on how they designed their seating. It's so frustrating sometimes. But the best places to try to find shaded seating at Disneyland are Galactic Grill, which is over in Tomorrowland. There is a ton of seating that is normally in the shade throughout the day. There also is seating for Galactic Grill that wraps around the side of it. A lot of people don't see that. Kind of around the side, heading towards the Fantasyland walkway, and then also around the side over by Space Mountain. And also in Disneyland, when it's open, the Hungry Bear restaurant is our go to place to go on a hot day. There is a plethora of seating and it's all shaded. And also, the food there is pretty good for a quick service restaurant. The last place we'll try to go to on a hot day to find shaded seating, or even if you get real lucky, some air conditioned seating, is at the Red Rose Tavern in Fantasyland. There is a very small amount of seating inside, which is air conditioned. And if you get really lucky, you might get one of those seats. Otherwise, there is a relatively large seating area outside of the restaurant, and it's all in the shade. So that's also a good option if you just happen to be in the Fantasyland area. And lastly, know when to call it quits. As they say at PhilharMagic, if you're feeling goofy, duck out. You're going to want to just go back to your hotel room, take a nap, take a break. It will be so much better for you in the long run to come back in a few hours when the sun's gone down and you can enjoy the park more fully than if you just tried to power through and be miserable for hours and hours and hours. Let us know in the comments if you have any other good tips for beating the heat at Disneyland.